Now, let's discuss fallacies of language or ambiguity. In this slide, we're going to discuss only two fallacies of language or ambiguity. We only have equivocation and amphiboly. Okay, punta muna tayo sa equivocation. Now, for equivocation, it has two words which can be compounded like this. So we have equal and then vocal. Now, for equivocation, fallacy of equivocation, we have to examine one word. Okay, may isang word dyan sa fallacy na yan which has two or more possible meanings. Okay, that's for equivocation. So, ibig sabihin, equal, vocal, ibig sabihin yan, we use one word which is voiced out, pero it has two possible meanings. Kaya siya tinawag na equivocal. Alright, for amphiboly, tandaan natin yung letter A here. For amphiboly. Amphiboly here stands for an awkward construction of the statements. So since it's awkward, we encounter uncomfortable interpretation. So it's very hard to understand. That's why it's uncomfortable. It's awkward. And then we might have two possible interpretations for that. Okay? So ulitin ko po. For equivocation, we have one word. Pero it is used in two different meanings. Dalawang beses siyang ginamit. Pero yung one word na dalawang beses siyang ginamit, may dalawang possible meanings. For amphiboly, ganun pa rin. We use one word, pero the manner in which that one word was used is very awkward, to the point that we might have two possible interpretation. Okay, yung yung two possible interpretations na nandun sa statement ng fallacy, it's not clearly indicated. That's why it's very uncomfortable to understand. Alright, that's for equivocation and then amphiboly. Now, let's discuss equivocation. Again, for equivocation, we use one word. Ito, a word is used in two different senses. So, equal, vocal. Yung vocal dito, it pertains to the specific word used in the fallacy. Pero equal kasi nga, it has two different meanings in the argument. So, a word with different meanings is used in the same context in a particular argument. Now, let's discuss this first fallacy here. No designing persons are to be trusted. So, we're talking about persons who are able to design. But architects are people who make designs. So, asan dito yung equivocal word? The equivocal word that we use here is the word design. Okay? So, the first premise here, that no designing persons are to be trusted, pertains to a common person who designs things. So it's stated here that you shouldn't trust persons who are able to design. But architects also are able to design. Therefore, architects are not to be trusted. So ibig sabihin, yung word na designing here is different dun sa designing na tinutukoy dito sa architect. Okay, that's equivocal. Like another example, a king moves one square in any direction. So yung tinutukoy dito, a king moves one square in any direction, is a king in a game of chess. But Solomon is a king. Again, ang asan dito yung equivocal word. The equivocal word that we have to check here is the word king. Kasi isang word siya na ginamit na dalawang beses. Yun din yung sa first fallacy natin. Isang word na ginamit dalawang beses. Sa second fallacy, isang word na ginamit dalawang beses. Okay, a word is used in two different senses. That's equivocation. And the first premise in the second fallacy, a king moves one square in any direction, is a king that we discuss or that is present in the game of chess. Yung pangalawang king dito sa second premise is a person na Solomon, na hari. Therefore, Solomon, who is also king, moves one square in any direction. So, nagkaroon ng fallacy kasi nagkaroon ng connection between the first saka second premise na yung king na tinutukoy dun sa first premise is the same king na tinutukoy dun sa second premise. Okay, kaya siya naging fallacy. Therefore, Solomon moves one square in any direction. That's for equivocation. Another example is noisy children are a real headache. An aspirin will make a headache go away. So again, tingnan natin yung one word na ginamit dalawang beses. We have the word headache and then headache in the second premise. So these are words that were used commonly in the first at second premise. Isang word with two different senses. So noisy children are real headache. Ito sila. And then the aspirin, the pain reliever, will make a headache go away. Tanggalin natin to. Therefore, an aspirin will make noisy children go away. So because you assume of this interconnection of the two first premises, applicable siya sa conclusion, kaya siya nagkakaroon ng fallacy. Ulitin ko po, equivocation. We have one common word used in the first and second premise pero dalawang magkaibang senses. Next example tayo. Hey, you can just take that. It's stealing. So what? They steal in baseball all the time. So may steal ulit na ginamit doon. So one word na ginamit sa first premise, another one, the same word na ginamit sa second premise. Pero this time, ginamit siya in the context of baseball. Stealing in the baseball. So if it's okay for baseball players to steal, logically it's okay for me to steal too. You have a point. Naguluhan siya kasi it's a fallacy. That was easy. What kind of fallacy? It's a fallacy of equivocation kasi we use one word pero dalawa ang context, dalawa ang senses. Yung isa yung act of stealing which is immorally incorrect, and then yung pangalawang stealing here is applicability ng stealing sa isang laro. That's why this one is considered as equivocal. Another example, a tissue is a piece of thin, soft, absorbent paper. A cell is a tissue. So ano dito yung equivocal word is the word tissue. Yung isa, ito. Yung another one, ito. So a cell is a tissue. A cell is a piece of thin absorbent paper. Next, cancer is a malignant growth in the body. Ito yung cancer na tinutukoy dito. Yung tumutubo sa cell. The other one, the fourth sign of the zodiac is cancer. So alin dito yung equivocal word? Yung present sa first premise, saka yung present sa second premise, which is the word cancer. So the fourth sign of the zodiac is a malignant growth in the body. Right? So that's for equivocal fallacy. Punta tayo sa next, amphiboly. Amphiboly again. The keyword that we're going to remember here is the letter A. Letter A, which stands for awkward construction of the sentence. So since it was constructed awkwardly, nagkakaroon tayo ng multiple interpretation. So arguer misinterprets a statement that is ambiguous and proceeds to draw a conclusion based on this faulty interpretation. Example, when depressed, a church is a good place to go. So, what do you mean by being depressed? Why do you have to go to the church? Yung pag-construct dito, we use ambiguous word. What do you mean by depressed? Are you implying that the church is a place where depressed people go? Another example here, the tour guide said that standing in Greenwich Village, the Empire State Building could easily be seen. It follows that the Empire State Building is in Greenwich Village. So anong standing ang tinutukoy natin dito? Standing as a person o yung standing as a building in Greenwich Village? Yung depressed here sa first statement, when depressed, a church is a good place to go. Are you pertaining about the emotion or are you pertaining about other things? Okay, ang nakikita ko dito is emotion Or pwede rin yung clinically depressed. Ibig masabihin nun, pag clinically depressed lang, ako pupunta sa simbahan. When depressed, a church is a good place to go. Here, yung standing dito, yung standing ng pagtayo, kasi the tour guide said that standing in Greenwich Village. So, ibig sabihin, if you're going to stand in Greenwich Village as a person, you can see the Empire State Building. Ito yung Empire State Building in New York. It follows that the Empire State Building is in Greenwich Village kasi because of the awkward construction of the word stand in the statement. Another example tayo. Take notice when this sign is underwater. This road is impossible. When this sign is underwater, this road is impossible. So, ang ibig mo bang sabihin yung ganito na underwater? O yung underwater na ganito? So, isang awkward construction ng underwater. When this sign is underwater. So, ito yung sign. Are you saying that it looks like this? Baha? Or mismo nasa ilalim siya ng dagat? Kasi it's underwater. Next, sign in a maternity ward. No children allowed. Now, why is this awkward? Kasi you are already in a maternity ward. So, meaning to say, if you're in a maternity ward, obviously, may mga infant. May mga bata. But it says no children allowed. Are you saying yung dalawang interpretation to? Ang anong children na tinutukoy mo dito? Yung children na pinanganak ng buntis o yung mga malilit na bata na bibisita dun sa nanay? Okay, so this amphiboly, letter A tayo. Amphiboly, letter A, awkward construction of the sentence. That's why nagkakaroon ng misinterpretation. Another example for amphiboly. Can I have your name, miss? Why don't you? Why? Don't you already have one? So, alin dito yung awkward word, ambiguous word? It's the name. So, yung tinutukoy ng lalaki dito that can I have your name, miss, is the name of the girl. Okay? Why don't you already have one? Ang tinutukoy naman ng name ng babae dito is the name of the guy. Okay, yung sa he, yung pangalan ng she ang gustong makuha. Yung sa she naman, yung pangalan ng he na iniklaim niya na already have one. Okay? Next example, I would like to buy a clock for my girlfriend with 3 hands. Alin dito yung awkward or ambiguous word? Ang ambiguous word dito is the 3 hands. So, how do we awkwardly interpret this one? I would like to buy a clock for my girlfriend with 3 hands. Yung 3 hands ba na tinutukoy mo dito, yung clock na may 3 kamay, yung may hour hand, yung may minute hand, tapos may second hand? Or ang tinutukoy mo yung may girlfriend mo, yung girlfriend mo na may 3 hands? I would like to buy a girlfriend for my girlfriend with 3 hands. So yung girlfriend ba na may 3 kamay o yung clock na may 3 kamay? Okay, next. Did you get the plate number? Ask the police. Witness, no sir, it was bolted to the van. So, did you get? Alin dito yung ambiguous word? The ambiguous word here is the word get. Okay, yung tinutukoy na police dito, again, we have 2 possible interpretations for the word get. When the police says get, ibig sabihin nun is visually you were able to get it. Yung witness naman, no sir, it was bolted to the van. Nakakabit siya dito mismo sa sasakyan. The idea of get here, according dun sa witness, is to physically get it. So, dalawang interpretation. Visually getting it and then physically getting it. Alright? So, let's have a recap for the fallacies of language and ambiguity. Again, for equivocation, equal vocal. Vocation, the word that we use in the fallacy, we only use one word. And then this one word that we use in the fallacy is used 2 times. So it can be seen in your first premise and then second premise. Tandaan natin dito yung king. Yung king sa chess and then king Solomon. So isang king used in two separate contexts. Okay? So, nagkaroon ng equal interpretation kasi nga yung ginamit na king sa chess is also applicable as a king as a person. That's equivocal. From Fiboli, we remember the word letter A. Letter A stands for the word awkward. Okay, kasi yung word use here is awkwardly used, which is open for a lot of misinterpretation. It's very uncomfortable to understand to the point that you might be having two possible interpretations. Okay, ang tandaan natin from Fiboli is pwede yung no children allowed in the maternity ward. So, kung hindi pwedeng bata dito, ano bang bata ang tinutukoy mo? Yung bata na infant, the newborn, o yung batang toddler? Okay, yung toddler na 2 to 5 years old. So, no children allowed eh. So, it's awkwardly constructed. That's why it's considered as fallacy. You might be experiencing a fallacy of amphibole. Right? That's for fallacies of language and then ambiguity. Now, let's proceed to fallacies of grammatical analogy. Now, before we proceed, we have to examine first the word analogy. What do you mean by analogy? When we say analogy, we try to compare two things to show their similarities or relationships. Example of analogies, we have different types. We have from part to whole, cause and effect, person to situation, synonym, antonym, geography, measurement, and time. Now, from part to whole, alin dito yung part? Is it the battery or the flashlight? So, ibig sabihin, if I'm talking about the battery and then the flashlight, ano ang kaparehas niyan? Ano yung, if we go to compare that to another thing, ang kaparehas niyan is the hard drive to the computer. Cause and effect. Cause, fatigue, ang effect niyan is yawning. Cause is itching, effect niyan is scratching. So, person to situation, mother, home, teacher, school, synonym, obese, fat, slender, thin, antonym, poverty, wealth, sickness, health. So I might be including this one in your major exam for you to familiarize yung types of analogy. Geography, we have Chicago and then Illinois and then Denver, Colorado. Measurement, pound, kilogram, quart, liter, time, March, spring, December, winter. Now, let's discuss the difference between composition and then division. Now, pagdating sa composition, we remember the letter P. Kasi ang letter P here stands for the parts. So, if your fallacy starts dito sa parts, kung ano daw ang totoo sa parts, yun din daw ang totoo sa pangkalahatan. So, ibaliktad lang natin yung parts to whole. It will be from the whole to parts. That will be your division. Okay, parang sounds like division. Division mas malaki. Kaya siya from whole. What's true sa whole, yun din ang magiging true sa parts. Okay, composition tayo. Another keyword that we can use is CP3, si Chris Paul. Chris Paul is an NBA player. C stands for composition and P stands for the parts. So, ibig sabihin kung ano daw ang totoo dun sa letter P, what's true of the parts, it's also true with the whole. The whole is a class and the parts are the members of the class. So, composition proceeds from the members of the class to the class itself. So, tingnan natin simula tayo sa parts, tapos magtatapos tayo sa whole. Example, since every part of a machine is light in weight, ito yung machine. Since every part of a machine is light in weight, the machine as a whole is light in weight. So, tingnan natin yung from parts to whole. Andun yung part of the machine and then the machine as a whole. Okay, another example, each atom in this piece of chalk is invisible. So, tingnan natin yung parts to whole. Piece, yung part is the atom. So, each atom in this piece of chalk is invisible. It follows from the whole to the parts, from parts to whole, it follows yung totality of the chalk, it follows that it is also invisible. Kasi yung part niya, yung specific part niya as an atom, which is true, invisible siya. Does that mean that the chalk as a whole is invisible too? Now, if you follow this premise, if you follow this kind of logic, you're committing a fallacy of composition. Okay? That's for composition. Ganito yung illustration ng composition. So, kung ano daw ang totoo sa parts, yun din daw ang katotohanan na makikita natin sa pangkalatan. So, the attribute is properly transferred to the whole. Punta tayo sa fallacy of division. So, kabaliktaran lang ni Chris Paul si Dwayne Wade. So, Dwayne Wade is another basketball player. Again, I'm using Dwayne Wade as a technique for us to easily remember ano ba ang description ng fallacy of division. We can only remember Dwayne Wade if we know Chris Paul. So letter C is composition. P, Paul, P stands for the parts. Okay, composition, parts, baliktarin lang natin, division, and then we have whole. So baliktarin natin yung composition, we have your division. So what's true of the whole daw? Ito yung letter D stands for the word division, and then W here stands for the word whole. So division magsisimula sa whole. So what's true of the whole is true of the parts of the whole. So example, tingnan natin yung whole dito sa fallacy na to. Here. All the diamond rings inside the jewelry shop, lahat daw ng diamante dito sa jewelry shop, cost over $100,000. So I'm talking about the whole. So if that's the case, the diamond ring which was bought inside, ito na yung part, specific part ng whole, which was bought inside the jewelry shop, cost over $100,000 as well. Since yun yung first, that's the first fallacy, example of the fallacy of division. So yung whole, all diamond rings, tapos yung specific diamond ring, ganun din daw yung presyo. So if you follow this kind of thinking, you're committing the fallacy of division. Another example, since a nation is powerful, whole nation. So I'm talking about the whole nation here. Since a nation is powerful, it follows that every individual in that nation is powerful as well. Kasi nga, powerful yung nation eh. Does that follow that each citizen in that nation is powerful too? Now, if you follow this kind of thinking, you're committing the fallacy of division. Okay? Next, a ball pen can write. Ito yung ball pen. Ito yung nation. A ball pen can write as a whole. Does that mean that its parts can also write? So, pag tinanggal mo to, yung ball pen, pag tinanggal mo yung parts ng ball pen, pag ginamit ko tong taas, are you saying that it can be also used to write? So, again, pag sinunod mo yung ganun thinking, you're committing the fallacy of division. Ito yung illustration for the fallacy of division. Binaliktad lang natin yung fallacy of composition. So, kung ano daw ang totoo sa whole, its attribute is improperly transferred to its parts. Okay? So, let's have a review. So, Chris Paul tayo, composition. Chris Paul, letter C is composition. Kung ano daw ang totoo sa parts, is totoo rin yun sa whole. So, division tayo kay Dwayne Wade. Kung ano daw ang sa division, kung ano daw totoo sa whole, yun din daw ang totoo sa parts. So, binaliktad lang natin tong composition. Right? That's for fallacies of grammatical analogy. We only have two types for that. That's composition and then division.